In my 3 previous lectures, my subject was Swenka and precisely his play, A Dance of the Forests. Today, I move back in time frame from modern African literature to Elizabethan Renaissance period, precisely to Shakespeare. My subject today is Shakespeare's The Tempest. And my topic today is fathers and daughters. The relationship between fathers and daughters in many plays of Shakespeare has been projected as a relationship between a tyrant and a subservient daughter. Fathers very often behave like tyrants, imposing their opinions, their views on the daughters, suppressing their independent views. For example, we can take up A Midsummer Night's Dream, where Aegeus, the father of Hermia, wants to give his daughter in marriage with a young man that he has chosen. Although the daughter is unwilling to marry him, the daughter wants to marry a young man whom she loves. And the king, Theseus, cannot support the daughter because the law of the land was that the daughter must obey the father in matters of choosing the daughter's marriage partner. Aegeus, in that play, appears like a tyrant. In comparison to Aegeus, Theseus the king is more sympathetic, but he cannot do anything. Aegeus is adamant that the daughter must obey him and must agree to marry the boy or the young man whom he has chosen. Even in Hamlet, the relationship between Ophelia and Polonius is something which we can consider. Polonius tells Ophelia to reject Hamlet. Polonius tries to convince his daughter that these high men, these princes, they do not have loyalty to the girls whom they pretend to or pose to love. Polonius tries to convince Ophelia that Hamlet, after a time, will forget Ophelia. Whether Ophelia believes in what her father says or not, she, like an obedient girl, obeys him. Now, in this part, we may think that Polonius was seriously thinking of the future of his daughter. He was seriously thinking that, well, ultimately, Hamlet might not be willing to marry Ophelia at all. But in a subsequent scene, when Polonius uses Ophelia as a spy to ascertain whether Hamlet is really mad or not, we understand that Polonius is using his daughter only for his personal interest. He wants to gain more access to the king, Claudius. So father there is using the daughter. Even in King Lear, what Lear did, he arranged a very strange, very whimsical and meaningless competition among his daughters. Only he wanted to hear some flattering words from his daughters. When Cordelia refused to do what the father wanted them to do, she was virtually rejected by her father. And the father, at least for some time, acts as a tyrant. Even in The Merchant of Venice, Portia's father had arranged a competition among the suitors of Portia. Portia's father is now no more, but for selecting her would-be husband, Portia had to pass through this competition. The suitors would be given a number of caskets, and only he who chooses the right one will have the right to marry Portia. Now, fortunately, coincidentally, it was Bassanio who chose the correct one. But had it not been the case, then what would have happened to Portia? Had it not been the case, what would have Portia done? So, the whimsical father of Portia placed before Portia a trial. So these are some of the anecdotes, some of the incidents, some of the cases of the whimsical father. And we may say some of the cases of the tyrant father. In the Tempest, we have two fathers and two daughters, Prospero and Miranda, Alonso and Claribel. Now we may remember in this connection that in The Tempest, as in many other plays of Shakespeare, mothers are non-existent. There is no mother in The Tempest. There is no mention of the mother of Claribel, and we may imagine that Miranda's mother was dead. There are three other references to mothers. Two other references to mothers. One, a reference to the mother of Prospero, and the other is a reference to the mother of Caliban. So these are only casual and passing references. There is no role of the mother. The mothers, as if, do not play any role, especially in the case of daughters. Now, let us come to the equation of relationship between Alonso and Claribel. Now, what is Alonso? He is the monarch, he is the father and the patriarch. And the daughter must remain subservient to him always. The daughter must have no opinion in any matter, not even in the matters of her own marriage. And the daughter will have to obey what the father fixes. And Alonso fixed Claribel's marriage with the king of Tunis. Claribel knelt down before Alonso, prayed to him, and all the other members of the royal family, they entreated the king to revoke his decision, but the king would not do so. Why was the king so adamant? Why did he want to send his daughter to such a faraway land, to Africa? No answer is perhaps readily available, but we can think of an answer. We can imagine an answer perhaps. And I shall take up this African question related with the play later. Now I shall be now reading from the text. Now, when you see, well, Alonso laments that he has lost his son Ferdinand and he has lost his daughter as well. And he says, would I had never married my daughter there, for coming thence my son is lost, and in my rate she too, who is so far away, who is so far from Italy removed, I never again shall see her. O thou mine heir of Naples and of Milan, what strange fish hath made his meal on thee? Now, why is he lamenting now? After the shipwreck? Why? Is it because the son is dead? Is it because that the son is dead, he is thinking of an alternative heir? Is he thinking that had Caliban been there, she might have been the alternative heir to the throne? And now, let us look at what Sebastian says. You were kneeled to and importuned otherwise by all of us, and the fair soul herself, weighed between loathness and obedience, at which end the being should bow We have lost your son, I fear forever. Milan and Naples have more widows in them of this business making than we bring men to comfort them. Now we may please note this line, how Claribel kneeled before her father and how she was swaying between loathing her father and obeying her father. But the father would not listen to the entreaties of the daughter, and now the father is lamenting precisely because his son is lost in the sea, at least he thinks so. Now we come back to the African question. The initial question that we started with. Why did Alonso want to fix his daughter's marriage with the king of Tunis? Now, did he want to build up a fresh African connection? In fact, the Roman connection with Africa dates back to antiquity. And we may remember Virgil's epic, the Aeneid. Aeneas, after the Trojan War, started his journey from Troy, and he touched Delos, and from there he came to Carthage, and finally he came to Latium. This Latium refers to the shores of present-day Italy. And we all know that Aeneas was the founding father of the Roman nation. And therefore, the Roman connection with Africa was nothing new. From the 13th and 14th centuries, Europeans were making their expeditions. They were coming to Africa. They were setting up colonies there, and well, the European countries like Spain, the Spanish people, the Dutch, the Portuguese, they were all coming to Africa to set up either business or to colonize parts of Africa. Shakespeare definitely had this information, and he connects this with the imperial design of Alonso. Alonso perhaps wanted to set up a new Roman dynasty through his daughter, and simply because of his desire for expansion, he used his daughter. Now, after Alonso and Claribel equation, we shall come back to the central theme of the play. Prospero. Prospero, his banishment and his desire for revenge. Now the relationship between Prospero and Miranda has been defined and explained by various scholars in different ways. But let us try to look at the thing from a new angle. Well, Miranda's mother is probably dead, and there is only one reference to Miranda's mother. Only one sentence. When Miranda, in wonder, asks her father, "Are you my father?" Prospero answers, that Miranda's mother was a piece of virtue. And she said that the Duke of Milan was Miranda's father. So the only description about Miranda's mother is that she is a piece of virtue and nothing else. No other memory of Miranda's mother is revived. But there is perhaps one example which shows the affection of a father in Prospero. When Miranda exclaims that she must have been of great trouble to Prospero, well, Prospero says this: now this is what Miranda said, "Alack, what trouble was I then to you?" And Prospero answers, "A cherubim thou wast that did preserve me." So it's for you that I lived. So this is truly the expression of a father's affection. But otherwise, Prospero, throughout the play, impresses us as a hard taskmaster, as a man who values only his opinion and his decisions, and has no respect for the decision of others. Now we can refer to an instance where Prospero was narrating the story of the past to Miranda. And at least thrice, Prospero wanted to ensure that Miranda was paying full attention to what the father had been telling. So 3 times he said, now number 1, first he says, "Dost thou attend me?" And then again, "Thou attendest not." And finally, "Dost thou hear?" So well, full attention to the daughter. The attention of the daughter must not go astray. Mustn't go, well, it must not sway. It must not flag. She must pay unflagging, unswerving attention to whatever her father says. And then we come to the other part where Ferdinand and Miranda meet for the first time. The meeting between Ferdinand and Miranda was arranged by Prospero through Ariel. And this was also a part of his elaborate design. He knew that a possible marriage between Alonso's son and his daughter would finally ensure him to take up the throne of Naples. He was the Duke of Milan, and he was banished from there. And in revenge, he will take the throne of Naples through his grandson. His blood will sit on the throne of Naples, and his blood will reign. That was Prospero's plan, and that was the revenge that he was thinking of. So before that, there must be a meeting between Ferdinand and Miranda, and that is arranged delicately, precisely by Prospero through his obedient spirit Ariel. And throughout the scene where the young man and the young woman express their emotions towards each other with the talk of love, when they use amorous words, throughout the session, the old man eavesdrops. And he, at times, exclaims certain words, "It works." And then he knows that, well, it cannot move so fast. He knows that if the affair develops so fast, if Ferdinand is able to get Miranda so easily, perhaps the seriousness and the value of the whole thing will be lost. So he puts a brake. And everything is done deliberately. Everything is a part of his plan. And finally, comes the crucial hour. Well, when Miranda and Ferdinand are discovered playing, and Alonso is stunned. Alonso doesn't know whether the female figure is a goddess or a human being. And now Ferdinand says, "Sir, she is mortal, but by immortal providence she is mine. I chose her when I could not ask my father for his advice, nor thought I had one. She is daughter to this famous Duke of Milan, of whom so often I have heard renown, but never saw before, of whom I have received a second life and second father. This lady makes him to me." Alonso answers, "I am hers, But oh, how oddly will it sound that I must ask my child forgiveness. So, well, everything is arranged, everything is ready, every problem is solved. Now, Alonso is only too glad to have his son back, and he cannot think of objecting to a marriage between his son and the daughter of Prospero. In fact, he accepts Miranda as a child, the wife of his own son. So everything is beautifully solved. But don't we think that this solution, the map of this solution, was skillfully and carefully and precisely prepared by Alonso, by Prospero. Prospero had prepared everything beforehand, and one by one he uses his tools. Although it may sound very sour, but perhaps it is true, at least to some extent, that Miranda is a puppet. She is a puppet in the hands of the puppeteer, her father, and the string is there in the father's hand. And the father uses his daughter to take his revenge, a different kind of revenge, definitely, but it is a revenge all the same. The imperialist design of Prospero is definitely dissimilar to the imperialist design of Alonso. Prospero's is more refined, and the marriage has been arranged in such a way that everyone is happy. The two fathers are happy, the young man is happy, and the young man is immensely happy. So this is because of the great power and talent of the magician Prospero. But in effect, perhaps there is no difference between Alonso and Prospero as patriarchs. As a father figure who wants nothing but complete surrender of his daughter. Now, well, my subject today was the father-daughter relationship, the equation of relationship between father and daughter in the Tempest. But I want to add something. Now, this is not an analysis of the character of Miranda. Miranda's character has been analyzed by critics in different ways. Well, Miranda's loyalty to her father is exemplary, they have said and they have shown. They have also pointed out the innate innocence and purity in the character of Miranda. But perhaps there may be an objection to the word purity. What do you mean by purity? Throughout the play, we have seen that the two words purity and vaginal chastity are used as synonyms. Even Ferdinand had said to Miranda, if you are a virgin, I can take you as my wife. And about Miranda's mother, Prospero said the same thing almost, a piece of purity. Miranda was definitely sweet and tender, and the tenderness in her surrender to Ferdinand is also something which has been pointed out by many scholars. But two things I want to point out right now. And here we have an Indian connection, an Indian interpretation of Miranda. Bankim Chandra Chatterjee wrote an essay discussing Shakuntala, Miranda and Desdemona. But apart from that essay, Bankim Chandra perhaps was not convinced by Miranda's character. He once had a discussion with his brother as to what would happen to a maiden, to a girl who has been brought up in complete seclusion in the fold of nature, if after marriage she has to come to the civilized society. How will she accept that? Can she accept that with ease? Bankim Chandra wrote a novel, Kopal Kundola. And Kopal Kundola was a girl who was full of sympathy for Navakumar, but she never felt love for him. In fact, the emotion of love is perhaps connected with civilized life. Love is not an instinct. Sex is an instinct which will be automatically there in any animal. So, when Miranda readily falls in love with Ferdinand, we may feel that we may question whether this is possible. Rabindranath Tagore, of course, looks at Miranda from another angle. And according to Rabindranath Tagore, Miranda is an incomplete character compared to Shakuntala. Shakuntala was brought up in the midst of nature, and she became a part of nature. She felt her affinity with nature, and every tree, every flower, every creature and every creeper became a part of her existence. As Kalidasa in his great play Vigyan Shakuntalam has shown, when Shakuntala was leaving the hermitage, as if the whole nature was reacting to that. Miranda was also brought up in the midst of nature, but we do not find her very close to nature. She doesn't perhaps feel any affinity with nature. She is not attuned with nature. In comparison, we will say that Caliban has a heart for nature. Caliban can hear the music of nature. Caliban can feel the throbbings of nature. And let me read a very famous passage where Caliban speaks of nature. Be not afraid, the isle is full of noises, sounds and sweet airs that give delight and hurt not. Sometimes 1,000 twangling instruments will hum about mine ears, and sometimes voices that, if I then had walked after long sleep, will make me sleep again, and then in dreaming the clouds methought would open and show riches, ready to drop upon me, and when I waked, I cried to dream again. So this Caliban has very subtle ear and perhaps a subtle heart to feel and understand nature that we do not find in Miranda. So Tagore has pointed out that Shakuntala in Kalidasa's Vigyan Shakuntalam is a more complete character than Miranda in Shakespeare's The Tempest.